Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order this public work session for the Mahwah Board of Education for September 25th, 2019. Would you please take roll call, Mr. Bleeker?
Mr. Wendrikowitz.
Yes.
Ms. Saccone.
Yeah, here.
Mr. De Silva.
Here.
Mr. Gallo.
Here.
Mr. Coplin.
Here.
Mr. Kizmarski.
Here.
Ms. Conoco.
Here.
Dr. Morthy.
Here.
And Ms. Barron.
Here. Adequate notice of agenda of this meeting has been provided to the Ridgewood News and the Record, specifying that the Mahwah Board of Education will meet on September 25th, 2019 in the Administrative Offices, 60 Ridge Road, Mahwah, New Jersey. A copy was filed with the Township Clerk. Would everyone please rise for a salute to the flag? Mr. De Silva, would you please lead us in this? Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion to recess to executive session? Mr. Kazmarski, second by Mr. Wendrikowitz. We will be back very shortly, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. I have a motion to reconvene. Mr. Wendrikowitz, second by Ms. Conoco. Agenda questions. Please limit your questions at this time to resolutions under new business on this agenda. Excuse me. As a matter of fairness, you are asked to limit your questions to no more than one and your remarks to no longer than 3 minutes. If you are here representing a group, please identify yourself, the group, and your position in the group. If you are here as an individual, please give us your name and address. This section of public participation will be limited to 15 minutes, and please specify the resolution you are referring to in your question. May I please have a motion to open to the public? Ms. Conoco, seconded by Dr. Morthy.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm Jane Dembski. I'm here representing the Mahwah Stigma-Free Task Force for Mental Health. And in addition to co-chairing that, I also sit on the Public Policy Committee for the New Jersey State Office of the National Alliance on Mental Illness, their Public Policy Committee. So sitting on that committee gives me the opportunity to see bills that are coming through the legislature in New Jersey. And I'm really excited. I know I don't sound excited, but I'm really excited because a bill that I have great interest in, and I think you guys might, is mental health education curriculum within the health department or phys ed. So this bill was just passed into law in August. And in the state of New Jersey, they're looking to implement the bill in the school year, next year, 2020 and 21. So the reason I'm here today is to tell you that rather than look at this as another mandate and something that you guys have to work on, it's really a great opportunity because it gives you the opportunity to possibly save a life. We've all heard about the unfortunate and very heartbreaking suicides within our community. And this is really a great opportunity to educate our students and our teachers because we all know that a lot of mental health issues are hidden. We're not walking around advertising it, so people may be suffering and we don't know. So therefore, having this curriculum in our school is a great opportunity to help kids recognize it in themselves and their friends and their parents and to create a conversation. The destigmatization of mental health is really at a great time in America because people have been talking about it and it's getting more traction. Parents that I run into and hear about the stigma-free movement are so excited and they said we've been waiting for this, so the time is now. And if you are on any social media and you might hashtag the words anxiety or mental health schools, you'd be so heartbroken to see all the teenagers who are struggling, who are posting about their daily struggles to go to school and what they go through every day. It's really heartbreaking, you know. So I wanted just to ask you to consider forming an exploratory committee to start addressing that. From what I hear, and I pretty much gather because of all the work it entails, New York State brought this into law last year, and it's been implemented throughout the state. The guidelines are very general. Therefore, they really leave it up to you guys to figure out what you want to cover and how in-depth you want to go. of course, I have ideas for you. When I did the research for you, Dr. Schoen, for the website that we put together 2 years ago, I went through all the websites, not all the websites, I went through a scattering of websites in our country and school curriculums. And there are very few that do it really well, and there's one in particular in Canada that I fight for that is also been adopted in Washington State. But of course, I'm sure there are others on the table, so I'm here to ask you to look into that. That's number one. And secondary, I'd like you to consider forming some kind of mental health task force or committee within the school district made up of teachers, possibly parents, child study team members, students, to talk about ways that we can better educate our kids on mental health, mental wellness, and look for signs to help themselves and other people, and help destigmatize it and just bring an overall feeling of well-being to our schools. We really want to prevent tragedies that have gone on in the other school districts. And I was really upset the other day because I ran into a mental health advocate from the county, and there's a school district in particular that's have a lot of problems with kids attempting and completing suicide. And I said, what's going on in the school district? They must be doing awesome things. She said, no, they're really not. So that was also upsetting. So we want to do proactive things to avert tragedy and to help each other. So that's why I'm here today. And one more thing, if anyone wants any information, I put together data in an email. I don't like giving out paper and clutter all your folders. So if anyone wants anything, just let me know. I'll email it to you. Any questions?
Sure.
Mrs. Dembski has been leading the stigma-free in Mahwah from the Township Council level, and spent a lot of time with Dennis and I putting together the information that's now on our website, was something that's critically important. You may want to remain for the rest of the meeting. We are going to be talking about a strategic planning process, which will involve any and all members of the community. This is a perfect opportunity for you to bring this kind of idea up as we talk about moving forward. Okay. It's already on our radar,
Great.
And we were just talking about it with the board doing this kind of thing, but it is the perfect avenue and vehicle to talk with other community members and teachers and administrators and central office people about the importance of this, because I'm almost sure you'll have a lot of people on your side.
All right, great.
All right, so I think that if you want to stay and listen to our presentation this evening, we are kicking that off
Okay,
tonight.
I will do that.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, may I have a motion to close to the public? Ms. Conoco, second by Mr. De Silva. Thank you. Dr. Schoen, do you have a report for us?
I do. I have, good evening, everyone. I have two items I'd like to talk about tonight. The first is a real big shout out and thank you to Ms. Kaplan and Ms. Brisby, who are now leading the MSF grant cycle. The fall cycle just opened up. A lot of people got together under both of them and put together packets for every single teacher that was placed in every single mailbox. They have done a great deal of work to promote the fact that they want to make teachers' dreams a reality, and they want to be able to fund them. And the work that goes into doing this on a volunteer basis, Ms. Gosler did a great job overseeing this over the years under President Duffy, but I just really wanted to personally thank the both of them for what they're doing for our staff and for our administrators. This is really incredible. The second thing that I'd like to talk about is what I had just mentioned to Mrs. Dembski, and that is strategic planning. The Mahwah Public Schools Administration team would like to engage in the development of a district-wide strategic plan. We're extremely proud of the work that we have done so far, but we feel it's important to anchor our work in a district-specific plan for the purposes of engaging all stakeholders in our district, including students, teachers, administrators, parents, and community members. Soliciting each stakeholder's unique insight and perspective will provide us with a comprehensive assessment of our district's functioning and performance. This information will guide our goal-setting process and in turn will serve as a vehicle through which we can address the needs of the population in which we serve. We've already started the reflective process with our administrative team specific to curriculum and instruction. It was a successful exercise which allowed our team to identify points of pride as well as areas of growth. This plan will ultimately focus on all aspects of our district, from curriculum to facilities finance to community connections and to relationships. We've reached out to our New Jersey School Board representative, Mr. Matthew Lee, regarding assistance that New Jersey School Board can give us in facilitating this process. Mr. Lee from New Jersey School Boards is here with us this evening. He's our representative who not only serves us, but all of Bergen County. He has extensive experience in board governance with 20 years as a board member, including serving as president of his local Board of Education for 10 years. He has been active in advocacy through New Jersey School Boards and the Morris County School Boards Association as well. Since joining New Jersey School Boards Association in 2016, Matt has led strategic planning in Park Ridge, Oradell, Allendale, Fairlawn, Norwood, and Edgewater, and facilitated other colleagues in strategic planning programs in Kinnelon, Florham Park, Roseland, Bloomfield, Jefferson, Franklin, Sussex, and a lot more. Mr. Lee comes to us with a great deal of experience in this process in working with boards and community members and administrative team. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Lee tonight. Thank you.
Quite an intro. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So I wanted to just say hello to everyone because I haven't been here in Mahwah before. I do recognize some of you from some county and state activities, but I am happy to be here in Mahwah for the first time as your Bergen School Board's rep. And I'm really excited to talk to you about strategic planning. This is a very engaging and creative process that, as Dr. Schoen mentioned, we've conducted in a number of districts in Bergen County, and quite frankly, with my team, scores of districts across the state. So I'm happy that Mahwah is interested in pursuing this, and I'm happy to help you, guide you through this process as we go forward. So we're just going to talk a little bit tonight about what strategic planning is, what is it we can hope to achieve through strategic planning, and then we're going to talk about some of the mechanics of the process, and then finally we'll be able to talk a little bit about what are the details going forward and what questions you may have as board members. So what is it strategic planning is all about? Really, it's about creating a vision for your school district. It's about forging that roadmap that everybody can work toward common goals and have a common language and a common understanding of where it is that we need to go as a school district. What are the advantages of strategic planning? Well, I'm sure you do planning in every other facet of your life. And so some of these concepts are quite familiar to you. But with ours in particular, we like to think of this as a very creative and innovative process that engages a widespread section of the community. We like to think of it as a flexible process. There's a lot of interaction between community groups, board members, staff members, and even students as to what it is that we have right now as a district and what we hope to achieve going forward. Certainly, there's a discipline that gets put in place through strategic planning in that you create an ongoing cycle of planning, of assessment, and of making decisions based on those goals that you've outlined for yourselves as a district. Certainly, having that roadmap in place allows you to optimize the resources that you currently have and plan for resources that you may need to access in order to help fulfill the goals that you've arrived at. And then finally, the communication. We are huge proponents of making sure that not only do we communicate this process as it goes along, but also that the public is brought in and brought up to speed about the progress on this plan as it goes forward. We recommend certainly yearly that strategic plan goals are updated with the public and with the board and the community as a whole. And then, of course, as with any plan, things come up that you didn't plan for, but that's a perfect opportunity to reassess and refine. So, I think the key part about this chart, other than the questions, is that it really is a cycle, right? So you start with where it is that you want to go. And you really can't have an understanding of where to go until you figure out where you are right now. And that's the second piece there. The next piece, how will we achieve in the future? That's our visioning piece. What is it that we hope to achieve? If we were to do unbounded thinking about where we want to go, what are the things that we would identify? And then from there, it's figuring out what's missing, what we have to find, what do we have to create in order to help achieve those things going forward. And then the rest of it is really about the action part of it. How is it that we implement those goals that we've actually identified? And further to that, how is it that we measure the success of those goals as we go forward? So how do we begin? Like everything else, with a step, right? First thing we want to consider is the role of the board. The Board of Education plays an integral role in this, in that the board is really the vision and the planning body for the district. That's part of your role as a board member. And with strategic planning, certainly there's an approval element there. You all have to buy into this process because you're going to be ambassadors for this process. You can participate in strategic planning as a board member. Certainly, you want to do whatever you can to encourage public participation in this process, because that really is a key to making it a successful strategic planning initiative. And then finally, there's your oversight responsibilities as board members. And the communication as well. You need to communicate the plan, how it's progressing, how it's being implemented. And then, of course, as you set yearly goals, you want to align those with the strategic plan goals that you have in your 5-year strategic plan. And then keeping the plan alive and a focus. And that's what I meant before when I started to talk about revisiting the plan on a periodic basis, making sure that this stays top of mind with our board members and with our school community. So how do we implement strategic planning? Our program really has 3 different elements to it as we build our goals. The first is where we talk about the strengths of the district. What is it that we're doing right? What are we proficient at? What are we making great strides in? Those are our strengths. Next, our challenges. There isn't a district that I know of that doesn't have challenges somewhere along the line. No matter how high performing, we all work and live in the same state, and we all experience the same financial pressures at the very least. And those are all challenges to helping us achieve the things that we hope for. And then finally, 5-year visions. What is it if we could just remove all barriers to progress? What are the things that we would hope to achieve over the next 5 years to bring Mahwah to the forefront of education in New Jersey? And all those considerations are what go into building the goals that we'll identify as the framework for our strategic plan. What does the actual process look like? Well, here's the basic nuts and bolts of it. We implement this through 3 community meetings. And if you look at the left-hand column and meeting 1, where we are now, that's our assessment piece. The superintendent typically prepares a state of the district report to talk about some of the high-level metrics of the district and where we stand in terms of academic progress, facilities conditions, things of that nature. And then we break the attendees to the meeting up into small groups to discuss those strengths and challenges. And we ask them to come back with their own list of what are the things that we do right and what are the things that we hope to do better in the future. That's meeting 1. Meeting 2, again, breaking our audience down into small groups and having them think about, just do visioning almost, about what are the things that we hope to achieve for the school. And at the end of, for the schools I should say, for the end of that meeting, number 2, that's where we start to talk about identifying the common threads, those things that really crop up often in our analysis of the district's strengths and challenges, and also on those things that we hope to achieve. And then finally, meeting 3, that's where we start to write specific goal statements about those 3 to 5 areas that we've identified that will be the framework for strategic plan. and then also objectives for each of those plans that support how you achieve those goals. And those are the 3 community meetings. From that, all of that information is compiled by myself and my colleagues. We put together a report that basically recaps everything that we've done, and that becomes a framework for your strategic plan. But it's not the end of it. The next piece is action plans. So you all know as board members that you're responsible for high-level objectives of the district. In putting those things into action, that becomes the purview of the administration. That's where we identify the very specific things that are going to happen underneath those goals, and that's where we identify how it is we're going to implement those, what staff will need, what resources, professional development, what's the timeline, and what are the things that are going to indicate to us that those things are working. So again, two different pieces, but all part of the same plan. So that is the basic framework for strategic planning. I'm happy to answer any questions. Anybody have anything? No?
What's the typical timeline for it?
It can vary. I would say the standard timeline is running 1 meeting a month for 3 months. But for instance, I shared with Dr. Schoen and Dr. Turo that I did one in 1 month last year, or earlier this year actually. So it all depends on what the needs of the district are. And I would also just throw out, just as a point of consideration, that the meeting should really be carefully planned based on what else is going on in the district over the period of time. So you don't want to go up against your big sporting events or your concerts or things like that, just to ensure maximum participation.
One of the things that we talked about in this process, Brett, and I think it's important to know, is that I think the greatest things that we have done in our district have been done very thoughtfully, and we have not rushed into things. Our STEAM edition is just a perfect example of that, and that process was over 1.5 years. And working very closely with Dr. DeToro on this entire process and the administrative team here, we're looking at probably 1.5 years. So we're looking at, we have our 3 meetings semi-scheduled every 2.5 months or so to give us some time to get the first part done and then use the first part of next year to develop how are we going to get there. So we're trying to make it very thoughtful. So I'm looking probably 1.5 years down the road. And I think it's important, and we talked about this today with Mike, about just making sure that we're updating, as you said,
Yep.
Matt, the community as we're moving along and some of the progress that we're making so that they can see this plan, which is a 5-year plan, unfold. It won't just be this presentation this evening and then no one will hear of anything. We'll have the meeting in a couple of months and then we'll talk about what that looks like. So probably 1.5 years.
If I could just do the board.
How do you gauge community support? I mean, we have great programs that are currently running, Parent Academy we do, and different things. And there are times that I think either parents don't know about it, they're not interested, or they say they're coming, they don't. But again, so we've had some issues at times with existing programs that
Sure.
we have, et cetera, with participation. So
Yep.
how do you see, because again, this is a new layer of commitment for a parent,
Yep.
and a longer term commitment if we're looking at a year out or something. So how do you kind of grab parents, and do you look at specific groups to bring, parents and students into this? How does that work?
So we have a very sort of exhaustive stakeholders list that we recommend that boards contact in order to build the audience for strategic planning. The next thing we do is, in recognition of the fact that most people are extremely busy these days, we commit to just doing 90 minutes 3 times. And based on Dr. Schoen's schedule she described, there'll be plenty of advance notice for people to plan out for these. And we really do stick to our 90 minutes. We don't, it's a big consideration that we're being respectful of people's time. So, and then in terms of building the audience, your public your public relations and communications efforts will go a long way toward helping to get people excited and engaged. And the other thing that we like to emphasize as well is that if you miss one meeting, we recap the meeting in writing such that if you read that recap, you can fully participate in the next meeting. So it's not necessary that you be at all three in order to meaningfully participate. We hope you do, but you can still
So you're
get
saying
around
there's
it.
sort of an initial outreach
Oh, absolutely.
with particular,
Yep.
sort of, as you say, stakeholders, you
Yep.
call them,
Yeah.
who would want to perhaps, or in your sort of experience,
Yep.
who are likely to engage
Yep.
in that process.
Mhm.
Okay.
Dr. Toro?
I just to jump in real fast about two things. Number one is the timeline, and number two is the way in which we engage the community. The reason why the timeline is more extended because as much as we're truly excited and we try to celebrate as much as we can about the successes that happen in the district, we want to take some time to be thoughtful and be reflective along the lines of what's going well, but also what are some areas of growth. In order to do that, we're really excited to engage the community in that. Every single year, we bring our administrative team together, we talk to our teachers, we try to identify what are those areas, and we build goals collectively, whether it's within a school or within a district, but that's just built from within. What we really want to do is create the structure that we bring as much of the community into this process as possible. Those communities, it's not just the parents, it's the teachers, it's the students, it's the alumni, it's the community members. So what we really want to do is engage the HSOs. We want to engage the young alumni. We want to get different distribution lists. We want to be able to advertise on different mediums to make sure that we are thorough in our approach to have that really open that outreach that we need. Another piece is, just like Mr. Lee explained, is that we are going to memorialize those meetings. We're going to have a place on our website, and we're going to make sure that we're advertising that as well, so everyone's up to date. But we wanted to go a step further because we know that people are very busy throughout the different months. We're trying to tentatively schedule one for prior to winter break, and then one in the winter season, and then another in the spring. During that time, we're going to try to create some sort of portal on our website that identifies our points of discussion and asks people who weren't able to come or attend if they would like to put in their feedback. They can do that, and we'll try to categorize it accordingly. So that doesn't eliminate someone from attending a point of praise or an area of growth meeting or a plan of action meeting. It allows everyone to feel as though they can be in this process from start to finish if they feel that that's appropriate. So there's a lot of excitement right now across our administrative team when we presented it to the instructional committee. We're excited about capitalizing on our successes, but most importantly, hearing from the community and making sure that we're attending to those collective commitments that our community really anchors, especially when we're talking about mental health and we're talking about other areas of focus. We want to make sure that all voices are heard and we're addressing it as a collective group.
Great. My only follow-up is, does this committee structure create some sort of advisory board or something with this strategic plan, or it's just those 3 meetings? Does that continue in some capacity? I'm just curious.
So once the conclusion of the public meetings happens, then it's really the board's thing to drive in tandem with the administration. So that's when I mentioned that we would hope for the board to revisit this at the very least once a year. That's where you're moving this forward as a group.
Thank you.
So is it for, say, the first meeting, I mean, is that the type of thing where administration has sort of some general ideas of areas, or is this just an open slate? Anybody who shows up can
Brainstorming.
spitball and whatever we sort of come up with?
That's really part of what draws people in, is that they do have a significant voice in this process. We don't come in with preconceived notions, and we kind of let the public's sentiments drive what's going on. And certainly, the grand majority of your public is not educational professionals, so some of that may need to be reshaped a little bit in order to fit what's practical within a school district. But to answer your question, no, we don't come in with anything.
Cool.
With your experience dealing with other school districts, would
Yeah.
you say that some of the members that come for these meetings, are you getting a good amount of people who are not parents of current students? They're members of the town, residents of the town, but they don't have students in our school, but they have so much they can offer. They're in the business world, and they have another insight that they could bring to it. Do you find that you get these?
Without question,
People to
yes,
attend.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Once I start to give materials to your administrators, you'll see that, I mean, our stakeholders list is probably 55 different groups, ranging from your mayor and town council to your service clubs to your athletic boosters and your, scouts and things of that nature. So we really do cast a wide net, and the hope is that we do get a really solid cross-section of perspective in this.
And how do you inform them? Do you send out letters to?
We do that.
You'll be doing that?
We'll be doing that all over.
Every different way. In fact, I sent Dr. Schoen a video that one district created. I just got it yesterday, actually, as an example, which was pretty creative and does get a lot of attention.
cool.
So you can really employ whatever it is that you do to communicate and more.
So based on the questions that you're all asking this evening, do we have your approval to move forward with the strategic plan for our district?
No way.
I'm extraordinarily.
My work here is done.
Your work here is done.
I'm extraordinarily excited by this opportunity. I view Mahwah as a district. My children have come through the district. They were well served by the district. We're a district that probably performs. If you said 100 was the best we could do, we're probably in that top 90%. And the effort required to move us from, let's say, 92 to 93 is going to be extraordinary. A lot of our success in the district is the result of a lot of teamwork, but also the input of a lot of very gifted individuals, passionate individuals. And one concern I would have very downstream is when we go to create the structures of sustaining the plan, sometimes that entrepreneurial sort of spark that we have from the individuals who've been really the fuel for our previous success, if we create structures that are too binding, too formal, if you will.
Sure.
Sometimes that entrepreneurial or creative juice that has been the spark for much of our improvement gets tamped down a little bit.
Sure.
I think we know we can anticipate that. And a lot of this discussion about the outreach is, the first wave seems to me to be a big outreach to educate our stakeholders about what we're trying to do here.
Sure.
So that we can get a hook of interest into them and they show up to the meetings. And that the subject matter of the process ranges everything from mental health to specific curriculum issues, facility improvements, scheduling, whatever it might be.
Runs the gamut, yep.
Right.
Absolutely. What you had mentioned in your initial comments is really very much a cultural thing within your own district. And the folks best prepared to deal with those kinds of issues are you guys who are in place
Right,
already.
right,
So some districts certainly deal with it very differently, and it all depends on what goes on there. So.
Right.
So is this something, we have 7 committees already. And, well, no,
Yeah, it's a real
you
question.
said once this sort of gets underway, it's sort of the board's thing to, to make sure it, not that administration, is gonna slack off, there's no question, that's not a concern. But is this, well, no, I don't-
Not most.
you know what I'm saying.
I know exactly what you're saying,
Is-
but the
is
public
this-
listening
is-
to this video doesn't.
Is this something that, that we should consider forming a specific committee to, a group within the board to sort of
Spearhead this.
spearhead? Or is that, you think, not really necessary? What have you seen in other districts?
My experience is it's not necessary.
Okay.
The typical product at the end will fit squarely into whatever existing committees that you have, right? That the things that we decide to focus on as a district will be in your instructional committee or your facilities committee or whatever it
community
might be.
relations or technology or
Exactly.
Whatever the piece
that makes sense.
Yep.
Community relations.
Yeah.
She said that.
You're gonna be very busy.
Oh, we had that committee.
Peter, you're gonna be very busy.
But I think it did come up in instruction and curriculum, so some of us have heard this before. I think we were all, very excited. I think it creates ownership. I think it highlights transparency, accountability. I think there's a lot of pieces where there's already great things we do, but we can always continue to improve. And bringing in, I think, a larger cross-section of the community, parents, students, et cetera, I think it only enhances what we already do and creates a better feeling in our district as well. So I think we were all very positive. I know, if you're asking for feedback, I think we were all very excited. That's 4 of us on that committee.
Oh,
so.
no doubt about it, and that's
Yeah.
part of the reason that we brought it here, and everything we've done, and I told you this, Matt, when we talked, is we are a very tight team
Yep.
in this district and have an incredible administrative staff. But this, for full disclosure, this was an idea that Dr. DeToro brought up during the summer, and we embraced it. So I think we're off to a great start because the team embraced it, and the board is right now. And I just hope we have hundreds of people, and you need to figure out what to do with them.
We'll get it.
Yes, we're glad to have you on board.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Before you excuse him, Madam
Yes.
President,
I was curious, so after 5 years, is this like a renewable process?
Yeah, absolutely.
I work in education myself, and I know everybody's like on the bandwagon, boom, and then, something new comes up, and then it's the latest thing, so.
So I fully expect something new to come up all the time, right? I mean, laws change all the time, administrations change all the time. The game changes a lot, right? So that's why we emphasize that this is a flexible plan. But to answer your first question, yes, at the conclusion of that 5 years, you would expect that another far-reaching look happen and you create another plan, yeah.
some of the plans would probably include financial considerations which would
Absolutely.
Preclude that you would have to renew this after 5 years. I know in the library board we have that. New Jersey School Board has that. I've served on 2 of the 3. And it's important to keep renewing it.
Yep.
Thank you
very much, Mr.
Thank
Lee.
you.
Thank you very
Safe
much.
travels home.
Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time.
Very much. We'll be in touch soon. Mr. Bleeker, do you have a report for us this evening?
No report this evening.
Thank you. Mr. Fair, do you have anything for us this evening?
Yes, I just wanted to thank all of our teachers and administrators. We just completed our last back-to-school night at Rampo Ridge last night. Saw some of you there. It was, every back-to-school night has been wonderful, and it's great to kick off the school year. Second piece, I'm so excited about the strategic plan. It's going to be a really awesome, collective community effort. And this was also sparked by, the hashtag. So, that whole Mahwah Connects, this will be it. So, Dr. Arturo, again, thank you. Good idea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, my report. Mr. John Pascal is proud to announce that 2 members of the class of 2020 have been designated National Merit Scholarship semifinalists. Daniel Lee and Thomas Suman are the recipients of this honor. They have been named as members of the top 16,000 students from the original pool of 1.5 million juniors who took the PSAT in 2018. Officials of the National Merit Scholarship Corporation announced the names of approximately 16,000 semifinalists in the 65th Annual National Merit Scholarship Program. These academically talented high school seniors have an opportunity to continue in the competition for some 7,600 National Merit Scholarships worth more than $31 million that will be offered next spring to be considered for a Merit Scholarship Award. Semifinalists must fulfill several requirements to advance to finalist level of the competition. Over 90% of the semifinalists are expected to attain finalist standing, and about half of the finalists will win a National Merit Scholarship, earning the Merit Scholar title. So congratulations to Daniel and Thomas on this wonderful achievement. And then Mr. Pascal also is very pleased to announce that the following students have been named commended students in the 2020 National Merit Scholarship Program. And those students are Jonathan Koa, Michael Muzaffarov, Ethan Bompain, Juliet Corliss, Matthew Scrod, Logan Buckhalter, Hansel Kim, Scott Tremblay, and Natalia Fay. So of approximately 34,000 commended students throughout the nation are being recognized for their exceptional academic promise. Although they will not continue in the 2020 competition for National Merit Scholarship Awards, commended students placed among the top 50,000 scorers of more than 1.5 million students who entered the 2020 competition by taking part in the 2018 preliminary SAT National Merit Scholarship qualifying test. Those being named commended students have demonstrated outstanding potential for academic success, commented a spokesperson for the National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Committee. These students represent a valuable resource, national resource, recognizing their accomplishments as well as the key role their schools play in their academic development is vital to the advancement of educational excellence in our nation. We hope that this recognition will help broaden their educational opportunities and encourage them as they continue their pursuit of academic success. So congratulations on this important accomplishment. We wish all the students continued success in their future endeavors. And that is my report for this evening. Do you have any board member reports?
Yep, for Policy Committee, you'll notice we have
Yes, I saw that.
the 5,000 series.
Wait a minute.
You gotta-
With
It's a-
chocolate bar.
That's to keep us awake.
Yes.
I
reading this
expect
stuff.
these at the next INC meeting. Thank you. With ribbons. Ribbons.
Very
Right, so the
nice.
5,000 series, we've got a lot of work to do, so we're gonna jump right into it.
Dig
and,
in.
Yeah, we're excited. We're
Meeting
excited.
tomorrow at 8. Tomorrow morning at 8.
Absolutely, I'll be ready. Stay up all night, a little coffee.
I'll
little
come at
chocolate.
8 if I get a chocolate bar. Just saying.
Going downhill with the chocolate.
Anyone else this evening?
Finance Committee, a few items. Kyle was kind enough to distribute a facilities update report to all the board members, and one project in particular, if you notice, the traffic light is a little further along than we expected, and I think we're talking about activating it sometime in the next few days, and then there's a
Wow.
trial break-in period, and
Wow.
so instead of November, we're back in September, early October,
Which is
which is where we always thought we'd end up by happen chance. And also, the Finance Committee met with all the leadership of our represented unions this past Tuesday to discuss the performance of our health plans in 2019 and some choices we're going to be making shortly about 2020. I don't know if we want to talk about a special board meeting yet, but there will be a special board meeting on the calendar in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
We hope for next week.
Next week.
If we can, not on Monday, we're closed on Monday.
Right.
But maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday of next week, a one agenda item.
One agenda item that will be determine our path forward for 2020 health plan.
Correct.
Thank you very much. Do you have any other board committee reports? So just have a report on the MSF trustee meeting they attended on Monday evening. They welcomed all the new full trustees and associate trustees, and they thanked Mr. Butel and the MEA, Dr. Schoen, the board and district for all of our support. They opened, as you had mentioned, they opened the fall grant cycle. It opened on September 23rd and will close on October 23rd. And they had handed out these little promo materials. We're on the back. They've got the links to where teachers can go, and they've made it a little bit easier for them with the Google Docs. They've given them a hard copy that they can write in their ideas and everything before they go onto Google Docs, because there's an issue with not being able to go back and forth on Google Docs. So their statement here is, on the promo material is, no one knows better what the students need to increase their academic success, foster their creativity, and support their well-being than our amazing Mahwah teachers. And their tagline is, you dream it, we fund it. So great for the MSF. I want to let everyone know that they're selling 50/50 raffle tickets. They can be purchased either through any MSF trustee or on the website. The tickets are $10 this year, and the drawing will take place at the Casino Night event, which is on October 24th at Seasons in Washington Township, and the winner need not be present to win. The greatest emphasis that evening was once again to reiterate the fact that the organization is always soliciting volunteers to become part of the MSF family and to bring new ideas and support them so they can continue to do the fine work that they do for our schools. And in particular, I want everyone to know that they are in dire need of volunteers to step up to chair the Thunderbird Run. As of yet, no one has stepped up for the position or those positions, and they stated that the run, if they don't get chair people, they're going to have to cancel the run, and that would be a terrible loss for our district. So anybody who's listening to this video, if you're willing, or you know anyone who's willing to take on the task, or anyone in our audience, please reach out to Mary Beth Duffy to discuss the particulars, and she can be reached at marybethduffy23@gmail.com. So thank you very much, and thank you to the MSF for all that they do for us. Do you have any other board member remarks or additional comments on any reports or non-agenda items at this moment?
I would just say that while it's great that the grants program got rolled out, the important part of that is having the money to give away. So I hope to see everyone there on the 24th of October at the gala.
Thank you very much.
As a past president of that fine organization.
Thank you. Okay, and I have a motion to move on old business. Mr. Wendrikowitz, second by Mr. Gallo. Any discussion on any old business? Is everybody good to go? All right, could you please take roll call on that, Mr. Bleeker?
Mr. Wendrikowitz.
Yes.
Ms. Saccone.
Yes.
Mr. De Silva.
Yes.
Mr. Gallo.
Yes.
Mr. Copland.
Yes.
Mr. Kaczmarski.
Yes.
Ms. Conoco.
Yes.
Dr. Morthy.
Yes.
And Ms. Barron.
Yes. Now I'd like to take 17A through N. May I have a motion to please proceed on that? Mr. Copland, seconded by Ms. Conoco. Any comments on any of those items? I'd just like to comment on N, the donation by Mr. Brian Shenley of a drum set to be used by the Mahwah High School Band. So thank you very much, Mr. Shenley, for that donation. Okay, could you please take roll call, Mr. Bleeker?
Okay. Mr. Wendrikowitz.
Yes.
Ms. Saccone.
Yes.
Excuse me. Mr. De Silva.
Yes.
Mr. Gallo.
Yes.
Mr. Copland.
Yes.
Mr. Kaczmarski.
Yes.
Ms. Conoco.
Yes.
Dr. Morthy.
Yes.
And Ms. Barron.
Yes. Now I'd like to take 18A through R, if I may. Mr. Wendrikowitz
Oh,
first.
sorry,
Yes.
17A, I was needed to abstain.
Okay.
17A, check number 096700. I was already looking at 18, sorry.
It'll lead the recall effort now.
Noted, Mr. Gallo.
Thank you.
So that was
My
moved-
apologies.
Moved by Mr. Wendrikowitz, second by Mr. Kaczmarski for 18A through R. Do we have any comments on any of those items from any board members? Okay, could you please take roll call on
Okay.
that?
Mr. Wendrikowitz.
Yes.
Ms. Saccone.
Yes.
Mr. De Silva.
Yes.
Mr. Gallo.
Yes.
Mr. Copland.
Yes.
Mr. Kaczmarski.
Yes.
Ms. Conoco.
Yes.
Dr. Morthy.
Yes.
And Ms. Barron.
Yes. Now, public questions or comments. This section of public participation will be limited to 15 minutes. May I have a motion to open to the public? Mr. Kaczmarski, second by Mr. De Silva.
Show and tell.
There it is.
Thank you.
I've seen that map.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Get your checkbook.
John Feason,
It's free.
and tonight I'm representing the Mahwah Museum. And last time I was here, I encouraged everyone to join and be a member of the Mahwah Museum, and some of you had. And Kim, thank you very much. You renewed your membership.
Am I right here?
Hard carrying members.
Yeah, family member.
This is the way you get to heaven. Well, you got to have the card. You got to show the card. But tonight I would like to say that the museum is offering a historical map of Mahwah. This is built. This is the one Kyle has in his office.
I was just going to say, Kyle has the same one.
This is 17 by 24 by 17. This map is being offered to
Is that for
Now,
new
how-
members only who sign up? So,
No, this is for anyone in the town.
But if we all sign up, can we get it framed?
No.
Go ahead. Try this one.
is that a group
I
discount?
had the thought
Start dancing.
that we,
That is
the
nice,
museum
Frank.
could give you one map for each school.
That's a nice, yeah, that would be
And then if you
great.
got it I can get it framed for you for $100 each.
That's a nice frame,
And
That's
then
good.
you could put it up, and Kyle, you would not be the only one to have it. You would be one of many. And you gotta take one for the team, you know? But I would think that you may, you know, I can get, how many 8 schools?
6.
6 schools, $600, and it would look just like this. You wanna do it?
Where's your credit card?
Behind door number 1.
I'll make that motion.
I think it would be
Seconded.
absolutely fabulous to connect with you on, get it, Mike?
Next.
Mike's got the check.
The answer is yes. We would love
I
it.
can do that tomorrow?
Yes.
Well, it takes a couple days for them to do it.
Okay.
This is Michael's.
Well, they have a coupon going on. Should I forward that to you,
That would be
Mr.
wonderful.
Feason?
Thank you.
So if anyone
Thank you
wants
very
to
much.
get one of those, how do
He's
they
got
go
more.
about getting one of those free maps,
the
Mr.
museum.
Feason?
With this coupon.
Take this coupon to the Mahwah Museum and hand it to the lady behind the desk or myself.
I
I'll be
have
in
one.
front of it.
So I have one. I don't even know.
And yes.
I saw you there.
And you
Thank you.
hand this coupon in and they will give you a free map
Thank you.
and we can rock
I've already
and roll.
picked up my
You're
free
ready,
map.
You're cool.
This isn't your wallpaper at all?
Oh, I have a much bigger.
There should be a town ordinance requiring that map in the hallway, the front entrance of every home in Mahwah.
So that's my objective. Every home in Mahwah. We have about 9,500 residents in Mahwah. Little fun fact about Mahwah. In land area, Mahwah is about 26-point-something square miles. That's larger than the island of Manhattan. We are bigger than Manhattan,
Always happy.
which is like, what? Now, de Blasio may want to come here.
That's okay.
They can keep them.
That's okay.
So I'll rock and roll with this,
Well, thank you very much.
and I'll deliver it to your
Please
office.
do. Yes, I look forward to it.
Okay.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Mr.
Aren't
Feason.
aren't you gonna mention Mahwah Museum Trivia Night?
No, but I
Oh.
will. Please contact the Mahwah Museum, and we want to be part of the stakeholders of this
Absolutely.
strategic plan.
Consider it done. You're the
In
first to
fact,
sign
our
up.
president is a professor at Rambo College. So
Great.
she could add some value, and some of our trustees are also ex-teachers of the Mahwah school system.
Thank you, Lon.
So their input would be great.
Great.
And we would love to get the first notification of the first meeting.
I'm giving it to you right now.
Excellent.
You got it right now, right?
We're gonna have, little plates, that are made that say the Mahwah Museum in the lower right-hand corner. Little
Okay.
place, so at least you get some, PR there too.
I'm in charge of publicity, or not, membership.
Apparently I'm
Doing
in
a good
charge of
job.
spending $600.
Thank you very much, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Should be required curriculum in our schools.
Anyone else? Okay, may I have a motion to close to the public? Mr. Gallo, second by Mr. Copland. And may I please have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Kazmarski, second by Mr. Cohen. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all for attending.